Hey guys, this is Patrick from MakeVirtualTours.com, and we are back today with part two of our super awesome, really cool, 100% ultimate guide to how to make a virtual tour. And today, what we're going to do is we're going to start where we left off in part one. And in part one, if you guys watched that, we basically just took our images and turned them into HDR images. So now we're going to be taking our HDR images and plugging those into our panorama software to create a 360 degree by 180 degree panorama. And that panorama is ultimately what we're going to be putting into our virtual tour software to create the 360 degree virtual tour. This is going to be quite a long video. I have no idea how long it is, although you do, which is pretty funny. But I have no idea. But I will say that if you need to go to the bathroom or something like that, at least just go now or figure out where the pause button is because it is going to take a little while. All right, because we're going to get really into depth into how we're going to make our panorama. Now, the software that I use is called PTGUI Pro, and some people might call it PTGUI. I've never heard it pronounced before, so I don't really know, but we can just say PTGUI because it's a little bit more fun to say. And I want to show you real quickly exactly what we're working towards in terms of what our final virtual tour is going to look like. And so this is it basically. And you can see it's 360 degrees, and you can look all the way up, and you can look all the way down too, and all the way around. All right, so it's pretty cool. You know, we're going to get to the step here where we have the actual image itself, okay? And then in the next time, what we're going to do is we're going to put that into the virtual tour software to have this output. So I just do want to mention that this, as you can see, this room is very symmetrical. There's a huge symmetry here. So like this side is like really close to this side. And so when I was putting this tutorial together, I noticed that we had a lot of problems with the stitching. And the reason why is because the computer sees these images and it doesn't know how to react. And so that is going to be a little bit of a complicated tutorial in terms of like how to put that together. So I want to just go ahead and show you guys the easy way, like how efficiently the software will work if you don't have a really tricky version of a virtual tour. All right, and then ultimately we'll show you how to put something together like this. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create this panorama, and this is a panorama that I shot for my friend. He's putting together a proposal to renovate this hotel, and he just wanted to show what the area around the hotel looks like. So we went out here. I live in New Orleans, and we got a wonderful shot of the streetcar and as it was going by, and you know, this is the panorama that we're making. And as you can see, it's a full 360 degrees, and you can look up and you can see the sky, and then you can look down and you can see where the tripod is and stuff like that. We're actually going to cut this one out for this one just for simplicity's sake, but in the next one I'll show you how to put the ground in there as well. So these are the images that we're working with here, and there are 6 of them around and then 2 up top, and then I took 2 at the bottom. And as you can see, I kind of messed up. I should have told those folks to move over, but it's not a big deal because we are going to go into masking a little bit and show you guys how to do some masking. So without further ado, I'm going to grab those images. They're all TIFFs, and once again, just like in part 1, they're 2500 pixels in length. And I'm just going to drag those over to the virtual tour software. So now I just click Align Images, and it's going to go ahead and analyze these images for matching points to see exactly what parts of these images go with what. And then it's going to create a panorama, and if we're lucky, it's going to be perfect from the get-go. And there you go. Like, that's literally how easy it was. But as you can see, we have some issues here. You can see these shadows, and that was because the people were standing there. There's a shadow right here. So we're going to go through, and we're going to go into our source images. Right now I'm going to just exit out of this. So as you can see, we can optimize this and see how well we're looking. All right, right now, what we're looking at here is the control points. And control points are points that the computer has automatically generated to match up points that are the same in two different panoramas. So for example, I'll go ahead and just show you. As you can see, here's the hotel. It's on the edge here. So when we go to part 2, or image 2, that's another point. And so the computer has automatically generated these points by lining up these two spots in the two different photos. So when you take your photos, you have an overlap. That way, everything can be matched up in the end. So here's another one. There's the top of the building right there, and there it is right there. All right. So in a lot of cases, whatever panorama software you're using can automatically tie those 2 points together. So that's good. We've got a pretty good thing going on here. And the only thing that we need to do is, well, we need to do a few things here. One thing is that sometimes your vertical lines are not exactly vertical in your final panorama. So that's pretty important because you don't want to have everything lean into a weird side. So what you do is you go to these images here and you find a line that you know is straight. And so for example, I know that this is a vertical line because here's just a straight up line. This building is not the Leaning Tower of Pisa. It's just a normal building that has straight lines. So we're going to line those up, and this is wonderful when we have like just a straight building like this that we can line up. And we're going to go through a couple different spots here. We can zoom out a little bit, and we're just looking for like things that we know are pretty straight. And so here, this telephone pole, it's going to be pretty straight here. So just line that point up, then line this point up. Cool, looks good. And normally I would just go through every single image and then find 2 points that I know are vertical. Let's see. I mean, sometimes you can go with the smaller ones like this. So here we go. All right, this is, whoops. Okay, something got messed up there. I'm sorry about that. Just go back through. Here's 1 point, and then I know that there's going to be another point that I can find that's definitely vertical. So we'll go through here again. And so we're in the control points tab here. We're just lining all these bad boys up. And let's see. Here's another telephone pole. I know that thing is going to be straight. I mean, maybe not all the time since I live in New Orleans and, we live in a swamp basically. So things kind of get a little bit messed up. But with the ground, it's not very flat all the time. But no worries. So now I've got those points in, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to optimize that again. And then, yeah, I take that. Now I'm going to look in the panorama editor. And as you can see, these lines, well, they're not that straight. They're not as straight as I would like them. But, since we're just doing things for the tutorial, we're just going to continue and play along like those are straight lines. I mean, they're close enough. Like, that's not 100% perfect, but the point is, if I were actually doing this like for a real client, then I would definitely take a little bit more time and make sure these vertical lines are straight. But since we're just doing this quick YouTube video here, I'm not going to bother you with all that. But to straighten up your lines, that's how you do it. You just go control points. You find the same image. You line it up in both windows. All right, we can go do one more. You line it up in both windows here. You go put one up top here, and then one down low. All right, you can keep going through till you match up all those vertical lines that you want. All right, and then you go back to here, and then you optimize. Okay, yes, that's what I want. So let's see if that looks any better. Meh, a little bit better, but we're not too concerned with that right now. So as you can see, there's certain things that don't look good. Like I said, these shadows here look like crap. You don't want to just have some mystery shadows just hanging out there. So one of the beautiful things that I love about this software is that you can easily mask out certain things in your image. And in this case, I know that this is where the problem is. All right. So I need to go to the mask tab and then choose this red eraser basically and tell the software not to include that area. All right. Just get rid of these feet. And I mean, I'm just doing this for you guys real quick just because I don't really have to get into too much detail, but I'll just make this a little bit bigger. Mask out this guy, which is actually me. And, you know, we're going to get rid of this stuff. Now that tripod, I'm actually going to have to get rid of that shadow in Photoshop, which isn't that big of a deal because this ground is pretty straightforward. But you see the shadow here, like that doesn't look very good. So we're going to have to get rid of that. And get rid of this guy. So there's certain things that you can get rid of, and then certain things that if you get rid of them, then you're just going to end up with a giant sort of hole in your panorama, and we don't really want that. But let's just go ahead and see how that ended up. And as you can see, just like that, the shadows are gone. All right. Now, when you go in the mask tab, you know, let's say here's a shadow from the streetcar, and I do want that to be in there because if it's not, it wouldn't make any sense, right? Because this is kind of if the software kind of blended this out, then it wouldn't look too good. So we're gonna have to go to that image with the streetcar, and then we go back to the mask. And so what we're gonna do here is we're gonna choose the green, and what the green pencil does is sort of say, I definitely want this to be included. All right. I don't want you to try to mask that out because that part is awesome. And so don't get rid of it. And then you'll see, just like that, bam! Now we have a complete shadow. It's not blended out. Let's see. I want to see if I can get rid of this car here that's driving down the side. You know what? I can't because I was going to see if I could get rid of this car right here. But in order to do that, I would have to have two images that overlapped. Now, what I can do is, you know, make sure I don't have that little car in the background. So, doop, just a little red. All right. So now that guy is definitely not there. So that's really all there is to it in this part of the thing. So as long as our images were taken right and there wasn't too much wind like blowing these lines around and stuff like that, we can actually create our panorama. And that was as easy as it gets, you know. I mean, not really because we had moving parts, but that was pretty easy. That's when you create that final panorama, you are going to have this part of the tripod in there. And so there's a couple things that we can do to get rid of that. And I'll show you that in just a second here when we go to the next one. So that part is pretty straightforward, guys, right? I mean, that was pretty easy. So then what I do is I just go to create panorama, and then I choose the sort of output that I want. And we're going to be editing this photo for color and stuff like that. So we choose TIFF to make sure that we don't lose any information, okay? And then you can set the size to whatever you want. I mean, I think you can go to maximum size just like that, and that's fine. I mean, 3,100 pixels high is plenty enough because anything bigger than that, and it's just going to take forever to load if you actually make the panorama to the right size when it comes to if somebody wants to look at it on the internet. You don't need anything too huge, but we're just going to make this the maximum size right now so that we can edit it in Photoshop, and then we're actually going to reduce the size a little bit more when we actually put it in our panorama software. So that's good. And then you just click create panorama, and boom, that's all there is to it for that one. So let's just start with a brand new one. Sorry about that. Let's just start with a brand new project, and now we are going to get into the very difficult sort of Roosevelt panorama, which I had a lot of problems with. All right, hopefully it's going to take a little time here because as you can see, you know, this image looks like it could very well be together with this image, right? If you're a computer and you see these two, you're like, damn, bro, look at this chandelier. And then look at this chandelier. Those things got to go together, right? Wrong. Okay, sorry. We're humans, we're not computers, so we're going to have to fix that. Um, so let me just show you what would happen if I put all of these images all together into this thing and then allow the computer to sort of stitch them all together. We're going to get something really wonky. All right. Just analyze these bad boys. You're so good at analyzing. Oh, no, you're not. Wow. Look at that. That is ugly. That's not going to work, man. You're going to get fired from your job if you ever get hired and you give somebody something like this. That is not going to work. All right. Yuck. So, what do we do? Well, what we have to do is just go ahead and get rid of all of these images all together. We're just going to get rid of all of them. So instead of being able to put them all together at once, we're going to end up loading them one by one. And actually, we're going to start off with the first two and put those in just like that. And then see if we can get anything aligned here. Okay? And yeah, there you go. You see, that wasn't too hard. So since it knew exactly where the image needed to go, we have a pretty good starting point. So let's see if we can get that third one in there lined up. And so let's see. Can you detect anything? Okay. Yeah, you can. Good. All right, that's awesome. So this is what it's going to look like when it's a full 360 by 180. Cool. So we've got those three together there right now, and that's definitely a good starting spot. Woo! I accidentally just double click that, so we're going to close Photoshop and then see if we can get that fourth image connected somehow. And no, you see, that's where we have a problem because that is not right. So yeah, now comes the very tedious part. Okay, and if you guys if you want to, you can stick around and watch this, but if you don't, then I don't blame you at all. We have to go through and get rid of this one. All right, so here's where we're at with the three images. But what we're going to have to do now is actually just align this manually. Okay, you see when I put the fourth image in, the computer didn't really understand where to put that thing. So we're going to have to go through to the control points. And this is the same tab we were in earlier. But you can see, so here 1 and 2 are aligned here. Okay, that's great. The computer has automatically generated all these points. So as you can see here, number 1 on this image is number 1 right here. Okay, and number 0 on this image is number 0 right here. That's great. But the problem is when we try to connect number 2 and number 3, the computer can't figure it out. And it has to do with the fact that, in my opinion, this image is way too symmetrical. And so it's just like mind exploding. That's what happens to those poor computers when, humans didn't program them properly. But as you'll see, we're going to go through this, and it is actually really difficult to line these points up. So I'm not mad at the computer, but what I'm doing now is I'm identifying points that are on both images, and I'm just connecting them manually, okay? And what I like to do in these situations is kind of triangulate things, and that way, the software has somewhere to go from, all right? Now, all right, that should honestly be enough because this is a pretty simple image. So let's go to align images and see if, no, that didn't work. So let's just undo that. I hit Command Z, that's Control Z on a PC. So we have to put a couple more control points here, and that's not a big deal. But as you can see, this is going to get really tedious. So what we need to do is find another point that's on both of these images. And I always look for things that are kind of in the corner of something. That way I have like an easier way to align those things. Because if you just choose like a point in the middle of a wall, then it's not going to be accurate, right? Because you're just kind of taking it by chance. But if you have like a really distinct feature that's visible in both of them, then you can line those up like that. And once you start, like if I click something and then the computer automatically knows where to put it, then you know, then that means we're at a pretty good point here with you know the computer being able to align these images manually, or sorry, automatically. So let's just optimize that. All right, so it looks like it's very good right now and perfect. Cool. So now we've got our fourth image in there. As you can see, we still have to put the fifth and the sixth image to get the horizontal correct. And I'm just going to do that here. So it says, again, PTGUI was unable to detect control points, so we have to add them in manually. All right. Not a big deal, but let's just go ahead and go back to this control points tab. I'll move this down here. And so this is the third image, and it can't connect to the fourth image. No big deal, right? I mean, this is definitely more time consuming than just running it automatically, but this is pretty straightforward. You can see what I'm doing is I'm just connecting these 2 points. I see this point here and I see this one here. And that's pretty easy. That's pretty straightforward. And like I said, I'm kind of triangulating them a little bit, and already I can see that it's starting to be able to connect. The computer is starting to be able to connect these automatically. You see, it just automatically placed that. So let's go back through here, optimize this. No, wait, no. I don't know why I did that. Let's just see. Okay. I'm trying not to get angry at this software, but it's making it very difficult. This shouldn't be that hard. All right, it's already generating these points by itself, and I know this is the right position. So don't get mad at software. He's just a computer. But let's just go ahead and line up a couple more points here, and then maybe he'll be able to figure things out on his own. Let's see. I'm just looking for something pretty easy to match up. Guys, when you're doing this, if you ever do have to do this on your own, just make sure that you got some good tunes going on, you're feeling groovy, maybe listen to some podcasts or something like that. All right, cool. And just by adding those 3 extra points, suddenly it's very good. Cool. So we just need to add that one last image in there just to fill that, that part up. Cool. Not a big deal. And then it was unable to find a point for that either. So, once again, not a problem. We're going to go back here. This is number 4 and this is number 5. So we can kind of find the same deal again. This is the point up here. That is also the same point right here. Now, I'm going to do another video on how to actually shoot these virtual tours. But as you can see, there's definitely some overlap in each image. And, the more overlap, the better. I mean, to a certain point. There's definitely a point of diminishing returns. But when I do something like this, I'm taking one photo every 60 degrees, but this is actually more than 60 degrees. I think it's probably 90 or something like that. So we have 15 degrees on the side here and 15 degrees on the side here that are overlapping. And that's all you really need. I mean, you don't want to end up with too little, because then you have to do this manually, adding the control points, which, as you can see, is not really the funnest thing in the world. But there we go. Just like that, it's good. All right, cool. Well, that's awesome. But now we have the hard part, and I'm just gonna warn you guys. I'm gonna go through and do this entire thing, but by no means should you feel obligated to watch this, because it's very, very tedious. But I do want you guys to understand exactly how I do this. All right, this is the exact same process that I had to go through when I was creating this image. And so what I'm going to do first here is add in the ceiling. Okay, and you look up at the ceiling and you look at this image and you're like, whoa, well, how do I know which side is which, right? I mean, I have this chandelier here, this chandelier here. How do I know? So you either need to mark it manually by just like when you actually shoot this vertical image. If you do really have something that's absolutely 100% symmetrical, then you need to figure out a way, like maybe stand on one side and maybe add a little like stick somewhere just so that you can be sure to match it up correctly. But generally, you're not going to have to do anything like that. But for this one, the points that we have that we know are the same, and it's just I'm looking at it and I've already looked at it and I know that this plant right here is the same one that's in image number 1. All right. If you look at that plant, you can see that this corner of this plant kind of overlaps that light right there. And so I'm looking back at this and I can see that same plant right there. So that's a good place to start from. And that being said, I'm going to throw this image in now. And if I would have been able to, I would have just tossed all these images at the same time. But like you saw it wasn't possible because it just it got all screwed up and messed up. So we have to do this one by one, and it's very tedious. But if you want to do an awesome job, then this is the stuff that you got to do. I mean, what can I say? So I'm just gonna once again go through and figure out which points match with which points. And I can see this chandelier kind of matches in the corner here, like this, and like that. Cool. And this is a point that matches with that. And you can see we've already got, a good place to start from, because let's see, hopefully I'll add that, and then boom, just like that, it's in the right spot. I'm going to put one more right here. And it never hurts to add a bunch of these points, it really doesn't. The more the merrier. But you don't want to waste your time. So if you see that the computer is like lining these things up properly, then you can just move on to the next image. So far it's not 100% accurate with this image, so I'm just going to keep on adding a few. The more that I add, like, the easier it'll be to line up the other images as well. And I'm just looking for some distinct features. Here I see this little fire alarm thing or whatever the heck that is. And good. All right, cool. We're at a good spot here, but what we have to do now is move to the next image. And we have to connect those. And as you can see, that plant is still visible in this image as well. But what I'm going to do is actually just rotate this one, and that way they're kind of aligned in the same angle. If you guys didn't see that, I'm going down to this rotating thing, and then I'm just doing it like that. That way I have the plant on the left here, I have the plant on the left here. So it makes it pretty easier. It makes it easier to align these images. Okay. And once again, guys, PTGUI, like, that's the one that I use. It's pretty amazing. Mostly because of the amount of control that you have. But there's software like Photoshop that does automatically align panoramas and stuff. But in my experience, if you're doing something tricky like this, like the amount of control that you have in Photoshop isn't enough, because it just stitches like your average panorama that you might have taken that's like 3 or 4 pictures or something like that. But when it comes to doing like a full 360 panorama, Photoshop's head just explodes. And this is 2013, like the end of 2013. So if you're watching this in the future, maybe there's some awesome software that came out that makes this a lot easier. But as of right now, this is pretty much the easiest it's going to get. And yeah, that's it. So let's go to image number 2. And once again, we still have this. So now we know that this chandelier here is going to be on the right here. So I'm going to go in that corner, just line those two up just like that. Cool. See, I told you this would be fun. Well, I'm just lying. I'm lying because this ain't fun. This is the kind of stuff that, like, You do it because you got to do it. You don't do it for the love. But don't fight against it. You know, you got to be positive. Always be positive. And like I said, the way that I get through this kind of stuff is if I have a big job that I'm working on, I just jam out to some serious tunes. And it makes the time go by much better. So I'm just lining these up. And you know what? I just realized that I made a mistake and that could screw the whole thing up. I put that in the corner there when it really, excuse me, it really goes right here. See, that could have been a huge problem. And why didn't you tell me that I did that? You should have told me. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Cool. So, wow, I'm really glad I caught that because that was going to be a pain. All right, so let's keep on going. We're going to keep on putting these together. Wait a second, what did I just do? All right, so this is on the right. This chandelier is this chandelier. So just to get these two in kind of the same angle, just going to go like that. And guys, I've done this 1,000 times, but I'm not perfect, man. And so, you know, it it's kind of like mind-numbing stuff when you're talking about adding all these control points. So it's easy to just kind of mess up and like put one in the wrong spot. And next thing you know, you have to go through and find where that incorrect one was. And so I would recommend like really paying attention when you do this, because if you don't, you could end up really searching for your mistake for a really long time. And that makes it take even longer than it normally would. So just keep that in mind. And so now we've done 4 of these, and let's just see if we got anything a little bit better here with the panorama. All right. Wow, cool. All right, so that looks pretty good. I mean, we've got this whole ceiling in here. It doesn't look like we have any issues with the the molding or anything. It looks like it's all pretty clean. There's no problems with the blending. So everything looks pretty good at this point. And now we're gonna get to the really tricky point, which is the ground. Okay, and this this is tricky. But when I'm doing this, guys, sometimes what I do is like, if let's say you're shooting a panorama somewhere where the ground is just like grass. Okay, so I would put like a coin or like a bright orange sticker or something like that somewhere. Maybe like put 3 of them all around on the ground. So like one right here, one right here, one right here. And that way I know how to match these up a lot easier. Okay? Because if you're just looking for something like, or black pavement, like a street or something like that, and it doesn't align automatically, you're going to be looking for that forever. Okay, so just put a marker down, and then what you can do is when you take this image into Photoshop, you can just clone that out and get rid of those markers. It can make your job so much easier. So there's a little pointer tip of the day. Even maybe the experienced guys could get some use out of that tip. But if not, whatever. I'm just trying to help y'all. Cool. So here's the first image of the ground, and you can see this is my tripod, and this is my panorama head. I use the Nodal Ninja 3 Mark II, and that works for me. I got a digital SLR with a fisheye lens, and it works fine. So once again, it can't figure out where this thing needs to go. So let's just look at this image and see if we can find any identifying things. So we know we have the chair on this one side and we have this pot on the other side. I think probably a good place to start would be this chair. And it's the chair with the pillar on the left. All right, so let's find out what image that is. There it is, bam, number 4. So what I'm gonna have to do is go through, and so this is number 4. It's actually going to be this number 3 here, and I'm going to align the control points from 3 and 7 just like that. I'm going to rotate this So we have these things in the same corner, and just going to put this right in this control point. I'm going to line it up right here with this one. All right, cool. And so I know that this middle point is the same as this point here. Awesome. Cool. Really groovy. Really groovy, man. And then, so we have these diamonds, and then I'm just going to go right in the middle of that one. Oh, cool. Look at that. So it's starting to figure it out already. That's cool. Good job. Let's just look for something else. I kind of see a little spot here that maybe would be kind of easy to match up with. And cool. All right, it did it. So that's a good starting point, but I also have to align this image with another one. And so I can see on the other side that there's this pot. And make sure we're looking at the right one. There it is. That's it. And the reason why I know that's it is because when I look at this stripe coming through here, I can see that same stripe coming through here, and I'm just looking at those meeting points, and I'm just lining those bad boys up. Pretty groovy. Pretty groovy. And let's go with this point. And so, you know, obviously this would have been a little bit easier had I followed my own advice and put like a marker down on the ground somewhere. Like, let's just say I had a card here that said 1, and then I had a card here that said 1. Well, that way I know that this is the point where it matches up, right? So that would have been really smart. The thing is, I shot this a couple years ago, and I learned from my mistakes. But that's why I'm telling you, so that you can learn from my mistakes too. You can save a whole lot of time. Man, virtual tours are awesome. Okay, cool. So let's just see if we got anything here. So let's just optimize that. Cool. Very good once again. And boom! We got something good. So the reason why we take 2 pictures of the ground like that is because, as you can see, we have this part of the tripod head that's still visible. And so when I rotated the camera, I rotated it by 90 degrees. And what that did was that uncovered this area of the ground so that we could put that image in. And cool. So let's just see. Forgot which one it was. It was the one. Which image did I just put in here? It was the one where I'm standing right there. Cool. So that means that this is the one that we need to add. Cool. Just throw that one in there. And, you know, look, now it's right in the middle there. So that means that if I optimize it, whatever, it wouldn't work. It would still be problematic. So we're going to have to add more control points by hand. Whoopee! It might just be easier just to match up like 7 and 8. So here we have 7 on the left. And so the chair's on this side, okay. And I'm kind of just speaking out loud so that my head doesn't explode. Gosh, this is hard. See how much easier this would have been if I had put some numbers on the ground? Okay, I see one way that we can figure this out. So the tripod is here on this green thing. You see how that tripod's on the green thing there? So now we got the 2 things pointing in the same direction, and the tripod's on that leg is on that green area, and it's also on the green area right here. And then we can see it's right here. So essentially what I did when I turned the tripod head 90 degrees was I uncovered this area. You see how on this image this part of the ground is clear? Whoops. And then on this area it's covered. So it's the same deal with this part here. So basically, we're just using a process of elimination to get rid of the bad parts. I don't know if that made any sense at all, but I'll show you what I'm talking about in just a second because we're going to have to mask out this tripod, and then we're going to add in the third image of the ground, which I took without using the tripod, and that's just to get this middle part here, okay? And, you know, generally, like, that part, I'm getting a little ahead of myself here. Let me just delete that. But essentially, when we do this, normally what we're gonna do is, unless the client's like paying you a lot of money, we're just gonna leave it like this. You know, we're gonna when we put the final virtual tour together, we just don't let people look down all the way to the ground. But if you have somebody who like has a pocket full of money and they want this, then what we can do is we can add in that part of the ground that the tripod's covering up, and it looks like you're just floating in the air. And I'll show you what I mean in the next tutorial. But so we've kind of got a box here, making sure we're using the right thing, putting the right pieces, right control points in the right area. Yep, and that's looking pretty good. Let's see if we can optimize this. Very good. Awesome. Dude, that looks so cool. That really does look good. All right, so it's a good starting point. And now what I'm going to do is actually go through and mask out the parts that I don't need, okay? Now, you remember how to do that in the previous video? In the previous example. We're just going to take that red pen and we're just going to go through, and we don't have to be too careful about this. But yeah, we're just getting rid of all these things. We don't want this. I don't want these legs sticking out because that wouldn't make any sense. And I don't want this. I mean, usually the computer will just like get rid of those things. If it sees some people walking by, it'll just get rid of them. But we don't want to leave any of that up to chance. So let's just mask this out. And man, when I started doing virtual tours, like this wasn't even an option in PTGUI. And I'm so glad that they added this because it saves so much of my time. You know, basically before you had to make like a whole another image in Photoshop and then just stitch it manually. So now I've got that area of the tripod, of the image masked out, and you can see that there's nothing there. I didn't do a perfect job. There we go. Cool. Now, yeah, that looks pretty good. That looks pretty good. But we still need to add the magical ground picture. All right. So when you shoot this image, basically what you're trying to do is keep the the camera in the same area that it was when you took it using the tripod. I mean, that's not always possible. I mean, it's never possible. You can't keep it in the exact same spot. So we're going to have to do something a little bit different with this one. And hopefully I demonstrate everything correctly because I don't want to embarrass myself on YouTube, because everybody knows that YouTube is where we all get judged. So if I mess this up, guys, please forgive me. First thing I'm going to do is just mask out some of these points. And so we only really need this image for like the very center. All right. Because we already have all this information that is not red, that I'm not masking out. We already have all that information on a very steady tripod shot. So I'm just getting rid of that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the control point thing, and then I'm going to line these points up. All right. And let's see if we can kind of figure out what we're looking at here. So do you guys know what you're looking at? Because I don't think I do. All right, so it took a little hunting, but I found some spots that match up on this other image. And here we go. It's this spot is the same as this spot. So that means that, we can extrapolate that and figure out that the spot here on image 9 is the same spot here as it is on image 7. And we can go a little bit further with that. And this little green spot is the same as this green spot. And this one goes here. Cool. All right, let's move that over a little bit maybe. And do the same thing over here. See, it's way off right now, but we can fix that. We just got to add a bunch of control points, and then I'm going to show you something else that will help you. Cool. Well, they do seem to be lining up a little bit better. But that's off. Here we go. All right, we're just adding a million bajillion control points here. And when I say a million bajillion, I mean 7. All right, let's optimize this, and then it says it's not bad. Okay, but we still have a little bit of an issue with this. So what I'm going to do is go to advanced. Okay, then we go to the optimizer. All right, so what we're doing is we're going through the optimizer, and we have to choose viewpoint for this. Okay, and basically that means image 9, which was the one that I didn't take from the tripod, the viewpoint is a little bit different, if that makes any sense. And basically that means that we didn't shoot it from the tripod, we shot it from our hand, and so we actually changed the viewpoint a little bit. So we have to take that into consideration, and then when we optimize that, it says very good. Okay, awesome. So that's it, guys. Right now we have it. What I would do again to this image is I would go through and add the vertical lines again. And if you want to see how to do that, just rewind back to the previous panorama that I stitched. So we're going to add these, we're going to make sure that these lines are vertical. And then we're going to go to the output. Make sure, by the way, you save these images. Save your project files, because we don't want to mess the whole thing up. But then I'll just go to this and then make sure it's on TIFF, and then maximum size. It's again the same thing, and then just output that just like that. And then we'll have a beautiful image that we can take into Photoshop and fix up. It's going to be amazing. Cool. So that's it. Please let me know if you have any questions. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel if you want to see some more. And if you have any other questions, or if you just want to follow me on Twitter, Patrick Nidrie, that's PATRICKNIDDRIE. Guys, thanks so much for watching. Check out makevirtualtours.com for everything that you need to know about how to make some kick-ass virtual tours. Thanks, guys.